You have in front of you two containers worth of tevel, of non-tight. Varmei said, Meiser shel zubazu. Let the Meiser of container number 1 be in container number 2. The shel zubazu and of container number 2 and container number 1. Harshonim useris. The first one is Meiser because at the time you set the Meisers in the second container, they're both tevel, and therefore that works. But the second one is not, because the second one you want to say, well, let the second one's Meisers be in the first container. That can't work because by the time you got to that, the first one was already no longer tevel. The first one was already rectified. It was already chulin mitukanin, as we say. So therefore, you can't take Meiser from chulin mitukanim on something which is tevel. You have to take Meiser from tevel on tevel. So therefore, the first part of the statement does take effect. The Meisers of the first container are in the second container. But the second part of the statement does not take effect. The fact the Meisers of the second container can then not be in the first container. That doesn't work.
Didn't you have something in the past that where you could?
Yeah, that's the next case. If you said let it be simultaneous, let it be 1 and 2, and when 2 is in 1, then in that case, that's valid. All right, now starting the Gemara. V'tani lo, we learn concerning this. You take from the second one 2 figs. How does this work? If you want a meiser, this is amazing Gemara we're about to learn. It's really mathematical, but it's a fundamental concept which I was not familiar with till tonight. Oh well, count me out too. But I don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. You have to take from the second container on the first container 2 dates, ushnei yisurin, and 2/10 of a date, v'isuro shel iser. Now what are we talking about over here? The 2 dates and the 2/10 of the date, meaning the 2/10 of the date are the Trumas Meiser, and the 2 dates are the Meiser Rishon, Meiser Sheni. We're talking about hypothetically 10 dates, obviously. So if 10 dates, 2 dates are the 2 dates are the 2 Meiseros, and then the Suro Shaliser and the Shnei Surim are the Trumas Meiser, right? Shnei Surim.
What's the source? The 10th of the 10th.
Hold just a second. This is going on. Stay tiny. Well, I'm getting this wrong. Let me start over again. You take from the second one, you take 2 dates for Trumas Meiser. Right. One of them is for this is talking about, I got it wrong. Sorry. This where you want to take from the second container the Meiser for itself and for the other one. No, it's for both of them. Right, you want to take for itself and for the other one as well. Okay, so therefore, from the second container, you have to take 2 dates, right? Which means that it's both of them are the Trumas Meiser. You had 100 dates in each container, right? 100 dates, not 10. You had 100 dates in each container. So what you need 2 dates for Trumas Meiser, because each one needs 1/100th is Trumas Meiser, 1% of each for Trumas Meiser. So therefore, you have to take 2 dates altogether. Besides those 2 ta'anim, you also take 9 others for each one, right? Because you have to take 20 dates altogether. So that's 2 ta'anim, which are part of a 10th, right? Because each date is 1/10 of a 10th, meaning 1/100th. So the way to read it is Tani lo noito min hashniya shtei ta'anim, which are Shnei Yisurin Isuro Shel Iser. Okay? The vavs there, forget about. Just ignore them. So each one of these dates is the 10th of a 10th, right?
Only Meiser Rishon.
So there's only Meiser Rishon talking about so far, not Meiser Sheni. That's right, exactly. Okay, again, let me do it again. You have to take 2 dates, which are of Shnei Yisurin of the 2 tenths, Isur shel Isur, a tenth of each tenth, meaning this is the Trumas Meiser. Shmuel Amar lo matzi tenisa. You can't say the brisa like this. In Yasev Chada le'eser, if you take 1 for 10, it's not sufficient. This is a fascinating thing. You never realize this unless you learn Demai. If you have 100 dates in this container, right? And then you have 100 dates in the container number 2. How many? If you took off dates from this container, how many of them would be Meiser? This is not a trick question. How many of them would be Meiser? 10, right? If you take off dates from this container and this one, how many do these be Meiser?
That's a trick question already.
That's a trick question.
9?
9.9.
9 for...
Forget about taking for this one. You want to take for this one only. If you took from here, you'd take 10, right? If you take from here, on here, how many did you take?
Of 90, that would be 9.
Boy, you guys are worse at math than I am. You should be embarrassed. If you take off 10 from here, you're left with 90 chulin, right?
Yes.
Now you want to take off Meiser on here, and have all 100 be chulin. Meiser is a 10th milagav. It's a 10th of 100, right? Meaning that you're left with the remainder of 90. But you want now to take the Meisers over here off 100 and be left with the remainder of 100. That means you need to take off more Meiser or less Meiser.
I don't follow.
You want to take off from here. It's not hard though. You want to normally from 100, you take off 10 and you're left with 90, right? Now you want to take off the Meisers from somewhere else. And you want to be left with a full 100. Instead of 90 at the end. You're not going to be left with 90, you're going to be left with 100 chulin.
Also, you got to take
You have to take off more Meiser.
I see. So you have to take off... Okay, so you have to take off...
You have to take off more Meiser.
10 plus...
You have to take off 10 plus, right? Because 10 works for 90.
Yes.
So now, 10 to 90 is a proportion of 1/9. So really, how much you have to take off 100? For 100. How much you have to take off for? You take off from another container, you have to take off 1/9 of 100. You have to take off what's called in Gemara Tishua. Not a 10th. Meiser is a 10th only when it's taken off Minei Ubei. Right? When you're left with 90 at the end. But if you want to be left with 100 at the end, you have to take off a 10th milagav, not milabar, which is a 9th milagav. 10th milabar, 10th milagav, which is a 9th, a 10th milabar, which is a 9th
So
milagav.
it's basically like 11.
Right. So you have to take off 11.111111111. Right? Is that correct? Is that clear? Now the Gemara is going to have to express that. The Gemara didn't have a decimal system. I know you might not be aware of that, but the Gemara had no decimal system. How does the Gemara express 11.11111? Because a 9th of 100, right, is 11.1111111, right? It's an irrational number, correct?
I thought the Gemara knew, for example, pi.
The Gemara knew it. They just didn't have decimals. Look how the Gemara expresses it. Now, in Yasev Chad, if you want to take off Chad le'eser, 1 for 10, Tzarech l'meisa, besides you have to take off Chad l'mea, 1/100th. Okay? So I should start again. In Yasev, lo matzi tenisa, let's start from there again. In Yasev Chad le'eser, first you have to take off the 10, right? Then you have to take off for another 1 for the next 10, right? Which leaves you with 11. But that other one only works to get you up to what? To 99, right? Right? Because that's 1/9. So what do you have to do for the next one? Tzarech mesav chad. The next one should be chad olamea. You have to take off now 1/100th, which is now your 0.1, right? And then you have to take in yasav chad olamea, and when you take off that 1 for 100th, tzarech mesav chad ole'elef. You still have to take off 1/1000th, right? Which is the next one. Yasav chad ole'elef. So mesav chad asar alpha. You still have to take off another 1 for that 1. In other words, it's saying that you always have to add a 1 to 1/100, 1/10, 1/100th, 1/1000th, and so on and so forth. So you see how the Gemara is expressing the concept of decimals here?
Expressing in fractions.
Right, expressing in fractions, an infinite fraction as opposed to decimals, right? At some point, obviously, it gets too small for us to deal with it. When you get to the third decimal point, I think that's what it's saying. When you get to 1/10,000th. But be that as it may, it's an irrational number. 11.11111 is the amount that you have to take off the Meiser. So is that clear? It's not such hard math, but that's a very big chiddush, because we would never have thought that way. We would have thought, you want a Meiser, this 100, in and of itself it's 10, you want a Meiser somebody else it's 10, it's not. If you want to keep all 100 chulin, it's got to take off 11.11111. Okay? Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, Al Rishon over Basei. Getting back to the Mishnah itself, you took off from you in the Sefer. It said you do like this. You have two containers that say the mitzvahs of this and that and this and that. So it works with Vasacha. So they both work simultaneously. This is awesome. You've transgressed several prohibitions here. Al Rishona over Basei. Valashnia over below Basei below Sasei. On the first case, you transgress mitzvah say, and the second one, you transgress a say and lo say. How so? Al Rishona over Basei. Why? Shekava shnei. What? Shekava shnei shemos ke'echad. You're not allowed to make ma'aser rishon and ma'aser sheni simultaneously. The mitzvah says that ma'aser rishon should be rachis. So a pasuk like that, it says rachis. So if you say everything simultaneously, you transgress that mitzvah say. That's one thing, okay? Valashnia, on the second container, you transgress an asay and lo sasay. What's the asay? What's the asay is, of course, you didn't take up ma'aser rishon first. But there is an lo sasay as well, that you're not allowed to take off the ma'aser sheni of the first one prior to the ma'aser rishon of the second one. Okay? There's a mitzvah say to do ma'aser rishon first. Doing simultaneously is a negative. You're not allowed to do that. Besides that, there's a prohibition of taking off ma'aser sheni before ma'aser rishon, and that's a lot. So the simultaneously cancel is mevatel la'aseh, and the taking off sheni before rishon is a lav. Okay, so both of these are sort of apply in this case, depending, of course, on how you set it up and what you said. Okay, shekavu shnei shemos ke'echad. How did this happen? When you made the two shemos ke'echad, that's the asay. And when you allowed the ma'aser sheni in the second one to precede the rishon shebishniya, that is transgressing the mitzvah lo saseh. Rabbi Lezer said, our whole Mishnah Rabbi Meir, he in this concept will be familiar to from the Bavli. What is the Rabbi Meir? How's the Rabbi Meir? The Rabbi Meir ein atoifes el rishon bilvad. Rabbi Meir holds tfos loshen rishon. You always go after the first statement, and that's why Rabbi Meir would hold our Mishnah Rabbi Meir, because it said, if I said let the ma'aser of the rishon be in the sheni, and the sheni and the rishon, then I don't look at it as being simultaneous. I say it's in the chronological order, and therefore once I said let the rishon be in the sheni, I can't say afterwards let the sheni be in the rishon. Okay, it's only by specifying to begin with that to be simultaneous. That's our Meir sheet that you always tell Slosh and Rishon, which is a machlokus, because Tamot today we learned over there in Masechta Tmura, Harei the Tmura Sola Tmura Shloamim. If I say let this be this animal be a Tmura of an Ola and a Tmura of a Shloamim, Harei the Tmura Sola. The Meir Meir says Tfos Slosh and Rishon. Right? It can only be a Tmura Sola. It's not a Tmura Shloamim as well. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi said Havin and Sarvin Meimar. I wanted to say. Says Rabbi Yossi in the Zamora, Rabbi Yossi, not the Tana. I want to say, Ma Plikun Rabbi Meir, where do Rabban and Rabbi Meir argue? Rabban are the ones who argue Rabbi Meir and say Tfos Loshen Rishon and Loshen Achron. That we look at both parts of your statement. And here in our Mishnah, Rabban would say, even if it said Rishon B'Sheni Shem Rishon really meant to be simultaneous, not consecutive, right? So I wanted to say that where Rabban and Rabbi Meir argue only after Kedei Dibur, where you made the second half of your statement lachar k'tei dibur, abatoch k'tei dibur, but abatoch k'tei dibur, lo imra meir were conceded. If I said I raised it tomorrow, so tomorrow shlomi, so toch k'tei dibur, so then imra meir would concede that both parts of my statement have to be taken into account. So to according to Meir, say if I said rishona b'shniya v'shniya rishona toch k'tei dibur, I should say both parts of my statement might have to be taken into account. That's what I said before. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Lezer said about our Mishnah, Rabbi Meir, that it's going like Rabbi Meir. Hada Amra, this teaches us, Afilu b'tok kadei dibur eino chayzer bo. According to Meir, even tok kadei dibur is too late. Why? Because here Meir is saying clearly, once it said Rishona b'Shnei, that's it. Even if tok kadei dibur, he said Shnei b'Rishona. So now from our Mishnah Demai, I learned better. Now I see that even tok kadei dibur, Meir holds Tfos Loshen Rishon. Why? The Tani Masu saying Ma'asros kal kol b'chaver to kara shape. Only in the Sefer where I said that I specified, I articulated that they should both be simultaneous. Their koroshem, their words, because I did both simultaneously. But if I did one after the other, ein toifes el rishon bilvad. You only toifes loshen rishon. Okay. Rabbi Avina said. Now here's the Gersa change. Maybe the Ridbaz brings it down. There's a gross Gersa change. Modeh Rabbi Meir l'chachomim. Rabbi Meir concedes l'chachomim. Ba'omer behema zu tmuras shnei zvachim elu. Where the person said, let this animal be the tmura of both of those karbanos, right? Which are both in Oler Shlamim. Shecholu shneim. Obviously, Rabbi Meir concedes there's a way in which to get it to work simultaneously even by tmura, right? You don't have to say Areizu Tumor Sola Tumor Shlami, where in fact it won't work because only Tfos Loshen Rishon. There's a way of constructing it even by Tmura that will work simultaneously by saying Harei Behemazu Tmura Shneim. Let it be Tmura Shneim. Then in that case, I say that both Lashonos do take effect. Okay? In that case, why is that? So why Chalu Shneim? Minei Shekava Shnei Shemos Ke'echad. Kachas. Do you see it in the Gemara where it says the words V'nei Shekava Shnei Shemos Kachas? Right? Should be the next line.
Yeah.
V'nei Shekava Shnei Shemos Kachas, because you made it work simultaneously. Or Zeh or Zeh. But if it's one subsequent to the other consecutively, Ein Toifis El Rishon Rishon Bilvad. You only follow the Lashon Rishon, not the Lashon Sheni. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak b'shem Ravuna. He said, Rav Shmuel Yitzchak name Ravuna. Amar zu tmuras ola. If you said, let this be a tmuras ola, chozer bo, you can renege. The next word is a mistake. Betoch kidei dibur. The word afilu should not be there. Okay, you can renege betoch kidei dibur. Right? So l'chora it's a kasha on Rabbi Meir, or rather. This seems to argue Rabbi Meir, right? Because it says you could neg tokdei dibur, right? So Rabbi Meir doesn't hold that way. Rabbi Meir says whatever he said whatever he said right away, that takes effect immediately.
For Tfos Loshen Rishon, not necessarily for...
What?
That was only for Tfos Loshen Rishon when you were saying...
That's more answers. Says more, kam miskavin lohoisiv, kam miskavin livkos, kam miskavin livchos, kam miskavin lohosiv. You can renege tokdei dibur. You can't tack on tokdei dibur. That's what you're saying, right? Tfos Loshen Rishon means no tacking on. Reneging there might still be. Amar reizu tmura.
We have the same thing with Nidar, right? Can you renege on another...
Tokdei dibur? Yeah.
So same...
Yes, same principle. Amar, what am I? Amar reizu truma. What if he designates something as truma? Afilu tokdei dibur eino chozer bo. You can't renege even tokdei dibur. Why? Adam nishal al hekdesho. A person is shoel on his hekdesh. Vein adam nishal tmuroso. A person is not shoel on his truma. Now, the Stipler son explains. This is don't take this literally. Of course, it can be shoel on truma. You can go to a chacham and ask him to be matir neder. You can say, I regret making something truma. Therefore, I want to be matir my neder. That works. We're saying a psychological thing here. We're saying a person has a reason to be chozer and hekdesh, right? Why is there a reason to be chozer and hekdesh? Because if he doesn't make hekdesh, the animal will be chulin. But a person has no reason to be chozer on truma, generally speaking. Why not? Because if he doesn't make this truma, it's going to have to make something else truma. It's inevitable, right? You want to eat something, you got to make truma off of it. Hekdesh is an optional activity. Truma is a mandatory activity. You cannot eat something without making truma. So therefore, the Gemara is saying a very interesting principle. The Gemara is saying the psychology of an individual is that a person will renege on hekdesh. And therefore, a person has the right to renege on Ekdesh. The psychology of individuals, a person will not renege on Truma. And therefore, when a person makes Truma, he does it with a more definite sense. He's not opening himself, he's not permitting himself the luxury of expressing Truma without certain thinking about it first. Since Truma is something which he must do. So therefore, by Truma, we don't give him the right of being Choizer Tokdei Dibur. Okay? Is that clear what it's saying here? Okay, it's a lomdish so far. It's not because of the literal halacha, because the halacha is not true. It can be shol and hekesh shol on truma. Rather, it means since a person's truma is inevitable, therefore, when he says it, he really means it. I don't even give him the luxury of being chayzer tochdei dubar. Okay, says the Gemara. Period. New issue. Keitzarosa. This is getting back to our Mishnah when he says, but not our Mishnah, a newer case. He says, I want to take, actually that's similar to the first case I'm going to open up with. He said, I want the mices of both of these containers to be in one of the containers. But I didn't say which one. I have two containers, I want them both to be in one container. He didn't specify which one. Keitzu Noita, what does he do? Keitzu Rosa, what does he do? Notel Srim Teini Mezim Shem Shiurtza. He takes 20 figs from either of them. V'chol esed yasiv, and each 10 which he's taken, there's no meiser sheni is true here. It's only meiser rishon. Chol esed yasiv, and each 10 which he's taken, ispun trumas meiser. They each have trumas meiser in them. Ad kedon, that works b'shavos, where each one had 100 dates. Hayu bezu mea. What if this one had 100? Uvizu masayim, and this one 200. Now here's also changing the girsa. Noitel instead of im, it should be noitel shloshim. He's got to take 30. Why? Because 10 for the 100 and 20 for the 200. Okay. That's not a change. Actually, he adds those words. I'm sorry. Noitel shloshim. Period. Im l'shem mea hu noitel. Im l'shem mea. However, if he's taking for 100 of them. We're saying the numbers are not exact. Hu noitel achatisrei. He's got to take 11. Why does he have to take 11? This 11. It's not 11 exactly, but 11.11111. Right? Because again, you're taking for 10 from somewhere else. You need 11.11111. In l'shem asayim notel, you were taking for 200. Here the growth changes the gear, so you take noitel esrim v'shtayim. Right? You take 22, right? Because double, right? Dates. Bezu mea bezu elef. If one container is 100 and another has 1,000, im l'shem meu noitel. If you're taking it for the container which has 1,000. Noitel, then you take, it should be a chadisra. You take 11, right? The other container, you take for 11 for the other container. Im l'shem asar elafu noitel. If you're taking for the container which has 1,000, afilu noitel's kula. Even if you take the entire container which has 100, ain't no mashim, it's not enough. Because how many do you have to take on the container which has 1,000? 111, right? 111. You got the hang of it. You have to take 111, and you can't take 111. Right. So you have to take 111. It just means you have to take 100 that entire container plus another 11 from the other one, right? Mishiyeshlo kalkola. Now somebody who has a basket, fumevakesh losra, and he wants to meiser it from somewhere else. I think it's another one. Internally. Sorry, he wants to meiser internally. How much do you have to take? They were telling you about meiser rishon and meiser sheni. So figure out how many he has to take altogether, internally. He has 100. How many dates does he need from both meiser rishon and meiser sheni together? What? Meiser rishon and meiser sheni, not trumas meiser. Meiser rishon and meiser sheni. It's very simple. No, 10%, 100 dates. What's 10%? 100 dates. This is not a trick question. 10. How many for Meiser Sheni?
It's 10% of the
leftover, which is
9.
Right. So how many is that altogether? 19. Right. So how you take now? So what do you take? Noto shnei teshuin. You take 2 nines, v'teshua shel teshua, and a ninth of 9, which is 19, right? 9, and a ninth of a 9, which is another 1. That's 19. Shein eser meiser, which comprise 10 meiser, v'teisha meiser sheni, and 10 meiser sheni. Now the Chazal, this Gemara asked probably the most basic question in all of Shas. I've never seen a more basic question than this. Look at this. I'm serious. For your my Shasrei, why don't you say 19? Why do you tell me a ninth, a ninth, and a ninth of 9? Says the Gemara, this is a very, very fundamental answer. I'm telling you, this is the most basic question of Shas. Says Chazal Rabbi Zira, Divrei Chachomim v'chidoisam. Chazal speak in riddles. That's what it says here. Chachom. What? They want to make it difficult. That's what it says. It says when Chachomim say things, they say it in chidos. They say it in riddles. So here it is.
Say that rather than just giving you the answer, they give you how they derive the answer. By saying a ninth of a ninth, they're telling you how they got to it.
Okay, the Gemara's answer is much more fundamental than yours.
But the math teacher, they don't want to just know the answer. They want to know how you.
They want to give the right instruction. It's pedagogical. Maybe that's part of it. Harotzalachnis mea tukom mesukanim mea teinim mesukanos l'soch beiso. You want to take in 100 teinim mesukanos l'soch beiso, 100 completely mesukan, right? Now, here we're dealing with Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni, the same 100. And you want to take off from somewhere else. But you want to take off both Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni. You want to take off both now. Okay? So, how does it work out? So you have to add on. What do you have to add on 100? You have to add on 100. Here, the Meiser Sheni itself has to be 11.11. Right? Because Meiser Sheni, normally Meiser Sheni is 9 because it's after you took 10 off the top, but here and it's dealing with 90. But here you want to take 100, so the Meiser Sheni has to be 11.11111, right? Because that's the 10th of 100. The Meiser Rishon has to be slightly more than that, then, right? Because the Meiser Rishon, again, we have to figure out now proportionally. If when it's you have 100, you're taking off. It's a ratio of 9 to 10. So now when I have to figure out 9 to 10 is 9 to 10 is as 11.11 is to x. Right? You get the algebraic question? It's very simple, right? So the answer is it's 11.11 plus 11.11 plus 1.221. I figured it out here on the side. It's 11.11 plus 1.221. 11.11 plus 1.221, which is a total of 12.331. Okay? Trust me on that. That's what it comes out to be. It took me a while to figure it out. So, yeah. So therefore, now we have to add up 11.11 and 12.331. So we get the sum total what he has to take off is 23.441. Right? For Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni together. The Meiser Sheni is 11.11, right? And the 12.331 is the Meiser Rishon. So that's what Gemara is going to say in a number which is complicated, but that's the number. Harez and noitel kol teina v'teina you take for each and every date shnei teshuin 2 ninths v'teshua shel teshua and a ninth of a ninth shehein which are esrim v'sholosh te'enim 23 and arba and 4, and here's a typo, v'arba should be arba tishuin, v'tishuo shel tishua. 4 ninths and a ninth of a ninth, which means 4 ninths is 4.44, and a ninth of a ninth is the additional 0.001. Trust me on that. That's the way it works out. It's 23.441. Okay? You got the general idea, right? That's good enough. Okay. Says the Mishnah further. Mea tevel mea chulin. You have 100 tevel and 100 chulin. Separate. Now, to your misfortune, they got mixed together. They got mixed up. Okay? No tel mea v'achas. You're stuck now. You got to take 101 of these in order to make Trumas Meiser. Because what do you have? You had 100 tevel, right? 100 tevel and 100 chulin. Now, of the tevel, you have to take 1 for Trumas Meiser, right? Only 1. But if you take only 100, Maybe all those 100 which you took out, all those dates are what? Maybe they're all chulin. And chulin you can't take Trumas Meiser cover because it already is Meiser, right? This is chulin mitukanin. So in order to make sure you're getting at least one tevel, how many dates you have to give a Kohen? 101, right? So you sell him the other 100 and you give him one for free, as a Trumas Meiser. Okay? Noito mea vachas. Mea tevel, what if you have 100 tevel and mea Meiser? Now here it's now 100 tevel, and instead of chulin mitukanin, it's 100 Meiser. So for now, from this Meiser, how many do you have to give as Trumas Meiser? 10, right? From the tevel, how much do you have to give? 1, right? You really have to give 11 altogether. So in this case, you're pretty well off. Noito mea, excuse me a second. Same thing here, sorry. Mea tevel mea meiser, noto mea vachas. Here too, you have to take 101. Why have to take 101? Right, because if you took only 100, maybe they all come. Maybe if you took only one, maybe that's from the Meiser, and maybe you never were Yotzei on the Tevel, right? So therefore, in order to ensure that you're taking from that you get in at least one of Tevel, which you're making as the Trumas Meiser, you have to take all 101. The 111 of those are Trumas Meiser. 10 of this 100 and 1 of this 100. But in order to make sure that you get at least one from the Tevel, you have to give him 101 in order that he should be Yotzi all the Truma Gedolah. Trumas Meiser.
You ended up keeping was some of the Meiser anyway, so how could you use that?
Meiser, because Meiser is Chulin. Meiser is Chulin. Once the Trumas Meiser is taken off, then Meiser is Chulin. If you gave him 101, so for sure you gave him...
For sure you gave him some Meiser, you gave him some Chulin.
Right. And you kept some Meiser for yourself. For sure you gave enough to cover the Truma Gedolah. Right?
So by giving the Trumas Meiser, also the understand?
Right. What? Meiser's not also Lazard. No.
Only Truma?
Only Truma, yeah. Or Truma Gedolah. Anybody gave Meiser. Belongs to Levi, but anybody gave Meiser. So you gave the Kohen, who happens to also be a Levi, of course. You gave him 101. So for sure there's enough to cover all the Truma Gedolah in there. You get to keep the rest. Even if some of the stuff you're keeping is Meiser, it doesn't matter. Okay? Yeah, that's okay. You can Zork can eat Meiser. There's no problem. Mea Chulin Misukanim. You have 100 which is absolute Chulin, and Mea Meiser, and 100 which is Meiser. Noitel Mea Veser. So here you have to make sure you get at least 10 of the Meiser to be Trumas Meiser. So you have to give him 110 to the Kohen. Mea Tevel. If you have 100 Tevel and Tishi Meiser 90 Meiser, then it's interesting halacha. You have 100 Tevel. You have 100 Tevel and 90 Meiser. From this, 9 should be the Meiser, Trumas Meiser, right? From this, 1 should be the Trumas Meiser, right? But the thing is like this. Here's a kula, very interesting kula. Since how much of this tevel is actually Meiser, not Trumas Meiser, how much is actually Meiser? 100 of that is, 10 of that is Meiser, right? 10 is Meiser. So the Gemara said, the Mishnah holds, if you happen to take this Trumas Meiser, which should be 9, from this 10, you're okay. Doesn't matter. Because this is now fungible. You know, you can use this 10 to cover this 9. As long as you cover this 9 from either this 90 itself, or you cover it even from this 10, it doesn't matter. Because these are all now tevel vis-a-vis Trumas Meiser, so therefore they're all joined together. So these 9 don't necessarily have to come from this 90, they can come from this 10 as well. So says the Gemara, here you don't lose anything, because you just take 9 and 1, which equals 10. And that's okay. So you can take no matter where this 10 come from, if they come from here, or if they come from here, it doesn't matter. So you don't lose anything in this case. Okay? The 9 and 1 can be divided up any which way you want between the 100 which is tevel, which produces 10 meiser, and the 90 which produces 9 trumas meiser. Okay? So it's not a problem. Okay? Eino mafsi klum. You didn't lose anything. Zaklau, this is a general principle. As long as there's more tevel than meiser, lo yifsi klumi, didn't lose anything. The Gemara is going to discuss that. Okay, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Oimer. Shimon ben Lakish says, tzorich lahatnos. You have to make a t'nai. Now this talks about the case where you had 100 tevel. You had 100 tevel. I'm sorry, you had 100 chulin. Yeah, 100 tevel and 100 meiser. Okay. So in this case, he says you take 101. Yeah, the Ray should say you take 101, right? Because you have to make sure that you're not taking that you get at least one, which is from the tevel, right? So in that case, you have to take 101. So you have to make a t'nai. V'loiman, you have to say im tevel ola biyadi. If what I have in my hands is tevel, hu meiser, then meiser should be here internally, right? And from that I'm taking trumas meiser. Meiser ola biyadi. If what I'm holding is meiser, harehu asui trumas meiser. Then when I'm holding my hands, now it's become trumas meiser, and now it's just already meiser. Rabbi Yoin said, you have to make a t'nai kofel backwards and forwards. Lomar im lav, if it's not this way, let it be the other way. In other words, I have to express the negative as well. I have to say the positive. If it's so and so, then this is the way it should be. And if it's not so and so, then it should be the other way. Okay? If I'm not, I didn't do anything, it should be the other way. Rabbi Yochanan, you don't have to specify the negative, only the positive.
Can I just ask a question? The concept of Tanai Kofel,
yeah.
Isn't that only like DNA moments?
That's what we would have thought, but no, there's Avzakun Rabbi Yana, it's anywhere. You're right. Rabbi Yochanan holds only by DNA moments, right? Only ben on l'chavero, not ben on l'magam. Right. Rabbi Yochanan, ain't tzarich l'chbot. Now you don't have to make a Tanai Kofel. Dayo kedaita, dein kedaita, v'dein kedaita. And these opinions follow the line of research you found in another place. Truth is, specifically, Rabbi Yochanan follows the opinion which we found other place where it says there should be add in the word here trumas. Trumas shnei kerim. You're taking truma from two piles. Be'echad me'en. It should be be'echad with a base. In one of them, Rabbi Yochanan Omar kachu medumoin. Now you didn't say which one, so Rabbi Yochanan says they're both kodesh, because you don't know which one we're taking the truma in, right? So therefore they're both meduma, misafek, because I don't know which one I was going to make in which one, so they're all kodesh all together. Reish Lakish ben Amar lo kachu. Shlokish says it's not kodesh at all. Why? Because Reish Lakish says you have to specify. It has to be t'nai kofel in order for hektish to work. It has to be, I say, if it's in this one, yes, and if it's not in this one, then it shouldn't work, or whatever. If I don't make the t'nai kofel, it doesn't work at all. If Bill says I don't have to make a t'nai kofel, that's why it says, even if I didn't specify which one it is and how exactly it should work, it works, which here is to my detriment, because since I didn't specify in which of the two containers the truma should be, I'm stuck. Both the containers are now potential truma, and both of them are therefore potentially meduma, mixed up truma and chulin. Okay? Rabbi Mona said, Chokina Rabbi Lezer ben Aruch. This argues Rabbi Lezer ben Aruch. Titani, what do we learn about Rabbi Lezer ben Aruch? Meiser tevel shenisare b'chulin. If you have meiser, our Mishnah argues Rabbi Lezer ben Aruch. What does Rabbi Lezer ben Aruch say? He says if you have meiser, the tevel, meaning that meiser risha, for which you have to take off trumas meiser, which got mixed up with chulin. Im yesh lo parnosa mimokom acher, if you have some other meiser somewhere else, motzia l'fi cheshbon, take the trumas meiser from somewhere else, right? Now that's Tanakama. Everybody agrees with that. Vim lav, and if not, what happens? However, says Rabbi Lezer ben Aruch, gevaldige chak. Oimer yikro lo shem le trumas meiser shabo. If you have 100 chulin, and 100 meiser, yeah. No. Well, this is not a case where it's going to work out well. It has to be a case like this. The case which we had over here. Yeah, a case like this. 100 tevel, the first case in the Mishnah. 100 tevel and 100 chulin misukanin. 100 tevel and 100 chulin. So our Mishnah said you have to give 101 to the Kohen in this case, to make sure that you get at least one of tevel for which you take Truma G'dolah. Says Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch, no, you don't have to do that. Designate one of them. Say, let Trumas Meiser be in this part, in this group, whichever one of them. So now, how much Trumas Meiser do you have in the entire group? One group date. How many dates are there in the entire group? 200, right? Truma is Batel 1 in 100. So designate one, and that'll be Batel. Elazar ben Aruch says designate one. And forget it. Don't give 101 to the Kohen. Designate one, and then it's going to be Batel Barov. That's our Elazar ben Aruch's chap. There are 200 dates. 100 tevel and 100 chulin. So our Mishnah said you have to give 101 to the Kohen to make sure you get at least one which is tevel, which you make Trumas Meiser. Says our Elazar ben Aruch, designate one as Trumas Meiser. Say wherever there's tevel here, let one be Trumas Meiser, and then it'll be Batel in the other 199. Says the Gemara, take on Rabbi Elazar Rochamer, Yikulah Shem L'Trumas Meiser Shabo, designated V'Yala Bechomel, and let it go be examined Lechomel. Or Rabbi Memo said, Tipoter, resolve this, explain it, B'Dvarim Shem Aliyah, Trumas in things which are a Dover Choshev. A Dover Choshev is not Batel even 1 in 1,000, such as fancy walnuts. It goes a perich, right, is one of them. So, talking about cases, no betelus. Rabbi Hillel ben Pazi said, even in such a case, Hillel ben Pazi, boy, for Yivtzah, crack the nuts. They're not batel in the hole, crack them. And then the Trumas Meiser will be batel. Rabbi Yerushalmi said, Mutter lefatzeah. You think you're allowed to crack the nuts? You're not allowed to do that. Located, didn't we learn? Nispatz, where it goes in, if the nuts cracked on their own, then it's okay, l'shavra, meaning b'di'evet. But l'chadchila lo, you're not allowed to do it. Rabbi Yerushalmi said, kini mas nisin. This is the way to read our Mishnah, going back to our Mishnah itself. Kozman sha'tevel merubel ha'maiser, it should be eser, lo yifsi klum. As long as there's 10 more tevel than maiser, you didn't lose anything. Right, in this case over here, where there's 10 more tevel than meiser, then you didn't lose anything, because 9 and 1 equals 10. But let's say there's 95 meiser, right? Let's say instead of 90 there was 95 meiser. So in this case, how much has to be a meiser? How much has to be meiser rishon? How much has to be trumas meiser? 9.5, right? How much from this? 1, right? So you should be able to give 10.5, right? But that extra 0.5, you have to make sure it comes from the meiser, right? It can't come from the tevel. That'd be too much. I'm sorry, it can't come from the meiser. Has to come from the tevel, the other way around. In other words, from this. You have to take here 100.5 here. You have to take 100.5, not 10. Why take 100.5? Because you have to make sure you need 9.5 plus 1. The 9.5 plus 1. Right. So you need 10.5, right? If you just took 10.5 though, you might be taking all 10.5 from the tevel. That's 0.5 over what you're allowed to take from the tevel. Because the maximum amount of mice you can get from the tevel is what? It's 10 altogether. you can't get 10 to 10.5 out of the tevel. So therefore, the extra 0.5 has got to come for sure from the meiser. What's the only way that you can ensure that it comes from the meiser? By taking 100.5. Again, you need to take 10.5 altogether, 9.5 from the 95, and 1 from the 100, right? So you need 10.5. Yet what's the maximum amount of meiser you can get out of the tevel? 10, right? So that extra 0.5 you have to make sure comes from the meiser fruit, not from the tevel fruit. What's the only way you can make sure it comes from the meiser fruit and not from the tevel fruit? If you take 100.5, right? So if you have less than 10 of a distinction between the tevel and meiser, you're messed up again. Even if this is 91, you need 99.1. You need 9.1. We need 10.1 altogether, right? Yeah, that 0.1 you got to make sure doesn't come from the tevel, it comes from the meiser. So you need to take off 100.1 and give it to the kohen. The only time you know the problem is if it's exactly 10 more, because then 9 and 1 altogether, that's 10, and I can get up to 10, so that's okay. Okay? Rabbi Levanti b'shem Rabbi Yoina said, Kol tevel d'onan kayomin ha'achol. All the tevel which we're dealing with over here is tevel l'rishon u'l'sheni. It's tevel both for Rishon and for Sheni, but we're not talking about Truma Gedolah. We didn't throw Truma Gedolah into the mixture here, into the issue. Why not Truma Gedolah? Because Truma Gedolah they always take off right when they harvest. They don't wait around for it. So that would complicate matters a lot more. We're not dealing with the whole issue of Truma Gedolah here. Rabbi Avo says, Ispagim Rabbi Dustoi Be Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Dustoi Be Rabbi Yanai argued as to whether Meiser Sheni is a factor here or not. Chadamar also so Sheni l'mokom acher. One of them said you can use here the stuff you're giving to the Kohen. The 101, you could say, you know what? Since I have to get rid of this much more than I really should have to anyway, right? Let part of that be the Meiser Sheni. Hi, then the Kohen's going to have to eat in Yerushalmi. So what? Let the Kohen have to eat in Yerushalmi. Because when I give him 101, I can say, let part of this be my Meiser Sheni. Because for sure I don't have to give him this much. So let part of it at least be my Meiser Sheni. The Chagona Omer, Oisa Kulo Meiser Sheni, Chadamar also Sheni L'mokom Acher. The Chagona Omer, the other, you can make a Meiser Sheni even for somewhere else, for other grain. The Chagona Omer, Osa Kulo Sheni L'mokom Acher. You can make this entire crop Meiser Sheni for somewhere else. Umafri shalav rishon mimakom acher, and you can separate from it rishon from another place. Now, what we mean by that, I forgot. Oh, okay. Means like this. According to the first mandamar, of the 101 you give a Kohen, you can may say, listen, I only owe you one of these, this Trumas Meiser, right? Let's say about 100 tevel, 100 chulin. I only owe you one of these Trumas Meiser. I have to give you the extra 100 because I'm up the creek, misafik. So I'm going to make this Meiser Sheni. Some of this is going to be the Meiser Sheni, right? Hi, you're going to have to eat Yerushalmi, too bad. Give it to somebody else to take Yerushalmi, be paid it, whatever you want to do, it's not my concern. The other opinion holds no. There's a better rate here, which is, since now I'm stuck, because now I can't eat any, because I don't know what's Truma G'dayla and what's Truma, what to take as Truma and what not to take as Truma, I have a better rate, so he says. He says, don't make any Trumas Meiser from here. Take more Meiser, and make Trumas Meiser from somewhere else on this 200. And take everything here, at which you have here, and make it Meiser Sheni. In other words, here you don't know how to take Trumas Meiser because everything got mixed in together, right? So what do you have here? You have 100 Meiser, 100 Chulin, right? So the 100, you need to take Trumas Meiser off this Chulin, but you can't because you don't know. Maybe you're going to be, you have 100 Chulin and 100 Tevel. So you need to take Trumas Meiser off this Tevel, but you don't know how to do it. So very simple. Take Trumas Meiser from somewhere else. Bring some other Meiser, take Trumas Meiser off of this from somewhere else. What can you do with all of this? Use all of this for Meiser Sheni. The assumption being that Meiser Sheni hasn't yet been taken off this Tevel. So therefore, make all of this Tevel Meiser Sheni and something else. Bring Trumas Meiser from somewhere else on it, and use all of this tevel as Meiser Sheni. And of course, that means you'll take all of the stuff that's mixed together, 200 mixed together, some which is tevel, chulin, some which is tevel, you'll take it all to Yerushalmi and eat it. So that way you don't lose anything, you just have to take it to Yerushalmi. That's okay. You'll use it all as Meiser Sheni, bring it all to Yerushalmi, both the tevel and the chulin together, because the chulin anyway is mesukar. The tevel's mixed in. So what do you do with the tevel? Take off Trumas Meiser from somewhere else on it, and all of it, take up to Yerushalmi with it, you and eat in Yerushalmi. Okay? So that way you get it out of the problem. But without giving any of this to the Kohen. Okay? Says the Gemara further. Manon kayamin. What are we dealing with here when it says for 100 meiser, for 100 you need what do we do with the following case? If you have, now we're reversing the order. You have 100, they're typos here. It should be, there are 100 meiser and 90 tevel. 100 meiser, 90 tevel, the opposite of this case. 100 meiser, 90 tevel. So in that case, in order to make sure that you have enough, noitel tishim ushtayim choser isur. You take 91.9. In other words, if you have the cases reversed, you have 100 meiser and 90 tevel. Okay? So for the 90 from the 90 tevel, how much is 0.9 is what you have to take as Trumas Meiser. From the 100 Meiser, what do you have to take? 10, right? So you have to make sure that 10.9 is. You have to make sure that it's that you're not taking more than 9. You can only take up to 9 from the tevel. You need 1.9 from the other one. So how much you have to take altogether? 91.9, right? You have to take 10.9 altogether, so you can take 9 from the tevel, but no more. So therefore you need 1.9 from the meiser, at least 1.9 from the meiser, so therefore you need 10, which means you need 91.9, which is the 9 plus the 1.9. Now what about, that's what it says, until Tishvish time choser isur. What if choser isur echad, minus the 10tenths? What if you have Mea, should be Mea Meiser Ushmoinim Tevel. Now reduces to 80 Tevel instead of 90. So in that case, you take Noitel Shmoinim V'Sholosh Choser Shnei Esronim. You take 82.8. Why 82.8? Because again, you can only take 8. You need altogether 8 plus. You need 0.8 plus 10. You need 10.8. And from here, you can only take up to 8, because 8 out of 80. So you need another 2.8. So you need 2.8 above the 80, so it's 82.8. And it goes, the Gemara says, it works going down. The next amount is going to be 73.7, and then 64.6, and so on and so forth. Each time it's going to be a formula. Misho Eser Shur Shel Eser Es.
One quick question.
Yeah.
And notice that the Mishnah typically bothered when it says Zach Klal, it says Klal Zach Klal Suyamai. The question's not answered.
It doesn't say Zach Klal Suyamai. Maybe Yerushalmi doesn't hold that thing.
Maybe.
That Zach Klal comes to Suya. That's a good point. Okay, Misho Elu Eser Shur Shel Eser Eser Kadayain. He had 10 barrels of wine. 100 barrels of wine. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. By 10. Okay, and there were 100. I'm not drawing all 100 right now, okay? But he had 100 of them, right? 10 and by 10. Shel Eser Eser Kadiyai. Vormer said, Shura Chitzoyna Achas Meiser. One of the outer rows should be Meiser. Venia de Ezahi. You don't know which one. Noito Shtei Chavios Luchsan. So you have to make Trumas Meiser. Forget about the Meiser for now. We need the Trumas Meiser. How do you know which one to take Trumas Meiser? You don't know, because you don't know which one is specified. So you take the two corner ones. You take this one, and you take this one. because that covers all of them, right? Because if this is the Trumas, this was the Meiser, so this one works. If this is the Meiser, that works, right? That works as well, right? If this row is the Meiser, then this one works. If this row is the Meiser, then this one works. So you have to take two, one more than you would have to take otherwise, in order to be Yoitze, right? Chatzi shurachi tzoyna achas Meiser. Let's say you said, let half of one of the outer rows be Meiser, and you'll do an Ezu, you don't know which one you specify. No till arba chavios, arba chavios, you have to take from all four corners, right? Shura achas Meiser. You said let one of the rows be Meiser. You don't know which one, and whether it's crosswise, lengthwise, or widthwise. No to Shura achas luchsan, you take this entire diagonal, right? Because that way you have one from each possible row in the entire set of 100. Chatzi shurachas meiser. You said let half a row be meiser. You don't know which half one you want to be meiser of the entire thing. So then noitel shtei shuros luchsan. You take this way. You make an X, right? Because that way you're taking at least one. You're covering all possible half rows as well. Okay. That way each half row is covered by one barrel. What? Tic-tac-toe. Noitel shtei shuros luchsan. Chati chavis achas meiser. You said I want half of a barrel to be a meiser. And there are 100 barrels. You don't know which one you specify. Noitel mikol chavis uchavis. You have no choice but to take half of each and every barrel. As the Gemara v'yito shtayim. In the case when it said that you have to take 4 because you designated chatzi shura, right? So it means only designated half the meisers. Because those designated 5 barrels. So designate another 5 barrels, and then all you have to take is 2, right? Designate another 5 barrels, wherever, and then you all have to take is 2, right? Right, give another chatzi shura to make up the entire meiser, and then all you have to take is 2, because then you have 1 shura on each side, and no matter what, you'll be yoitz if you take 2. Finish it up, and you only have to take 2. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Cohen b'shem Rabban in the Kisron said, so about we already had meiser in half of the barrels already. So therefore you can't take any more meiser, and that's why you have to take 4 to be trumas meiser. Tani, we learned, toil fun of shtei chavios. You had in front of you 2 barrels. Achal shel meiser tevel tor, achal shel meiser tevel torah. One of them had meiser of tevel tor in it, right? It's meiser, which is tor. The other is meiser, which is tamei. So now you have to take trumas meiser, right? You don't know which one is the Torah one and which one is the tamei one. You take to bring 2 ladles. And you take from each one trumas meiser for both of them. You pick up both of the ladles. Now each ladle dust is holding enough trumas meiser for both of these. You don't know which is the tamei and which is the Torah, right? But so you take from each one a ladle which will cover both. Vome, you say, Im zeu ator, if this is the Torah one over here, harezu trumas meiser, hareu shasiz trumas meiser. There's a trumas meiser on both. Vim lav, if not, lo asisi klum. Here's a tonight couple, right? He's saying that let it not be anything. This is like Rabbi Yanni says to be a tonight couple. The choizer came b'sheni, and then you do the same thing on the second one. And say, if this is the Torah one, let this be. Now one of them is tamei for sure. But you made sure to say, whichever the Torah one, that's the one which is going to be Trumas Meiser. So the other one, which is tamei, is Chulin Tmein. One of them is Trumas Meiser and it's Torah, and the other is Chulin Tmein. You don't know which is which, right? So says the Gemara, the Toivel. You can drink one, Toivel, and drink the other. Why do you have to Toivel? Because maybe the first one was tamei. So if it's tamei, you're not allowed after you drink something which is tamei, you're not allowed to eat truma immediately afterwards. So you drink one, toivel, and then you drink the second one. Divir, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, ain't no toivel el basof. You don't have to toivel. You only have to toivel after you drink both. My time at the Rebbe. Why does Rebbe say this? Ani Omer shema shosa mashkin. Oh, my time Rebbe says you have to drink toivel between the two. Sorry, right? And the Rebbe says, "Ani yomer shema shasa mashkin tmein tchila." Maybe he drank the tamei one first. Therefore, before he drinks truma, he's got to go to the mikvah. My time is less Rabbi Shimon. Why is Rabbi Shimon say I don't have to toivel in between? And Yomer Shema Shosa Mashkit Vein Basof. Because maybe the second one was the tummy one. Hi, maybe the first one was. Yes, but two, when you drink tummy beverages become tummy, it's only the Rabbanan. Because it's the tummy beverage is only a rishon. So since it's only metami of goof, the Rabbanan. So therefore, it's only metami the Rabbanan. So therefore, Chazal or Mekel, according to Rabbi Shimon, they say you don't have to toivel between cups, just toivel after you finish drinking both of them. Okay, you can assume the second one was the tamei one, and therefore you can drink both of them and then go to the mikveh. You don't have to go to the mikveh in between cups. Says the Gemara, Hakom Moedim. Everybody agrees. V'shoyse shum mashkin tameim shoasaluchal afilu safek truma. If you drink mashkin, which is definitely tamei, even though it's Sisar Rabbanan, you're certainly not allowed to eat even Safek Truma afterwards. Even Rabbi Shimon concedes that, because it's Vade Tamei Rabbanan. And Safek Mashkin, if you drink Mashkin, which are Safek Tamei, there's Safek whether these Mashkin are Tamei or not, then everybody agrees on the other end, Shumutter Lechol Afilu Truma Vadai. Since those two mashkis D'Rabbanan, Safek D'Rabbanan L'Kula, you can drink Truma immediately afterwards without going to the mikveh in between. Elokeinu Kayomin, what are we talking about in our case over here? Behada Masnisin, in our case, my time, what's the logic? It should be of Rebbe. Me'achar Val Yoda, since by both of them together, Nizbara Tuhun Tuma. In other words, there's definite Tuma here. It's not a Safek Tuma. The suffix which one is tummy, but it's definite tumah. So therefore, Rabbi Yismach said need tefillah between the two of them. My time it should be the Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon. What's logical? I'm sorry. Now it should be now we skip 7 words. Skip 7 words. My time it Lezer, Rabbi Shimon. You see that 7 words later. My time it Lezer, Rabbi Shimon. There's definite tumah here. Says more no. B'shoyse pachas mirvius. Lezer Shimon says you'll drink less than revius and get achilas pras. And when is mashki tmei matamiyu? Only if you drink revius b'chtei achilas pras. Says more if that's true. My time at the Rebbe. So according to Rebbe, what's the problem? Even Rebbe should concede the point. Shlo yavo lidei revius. I went back, right? That you shouldn't come to drink a revius. Doesn't Rabbi Lezer B'Shimon Shlo Yavo Lidei Revius? Doesn't Rabbi Lezer B'Shimon hold that you shouldn't come Lidei Revius? In other words, he too should be afraid. Maybe you'll come to drink Revius. So what's talk according to what's this for according to Rabbi Lezer B'Shimon? So let's go make the scene. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the third siyum in the context of the Yerushalmi Daf Yomi, and Mirtz Hashem. I know they come relatively frequently. Well, that's the advantage of learning Yerushalmi. They're short Masechtas. But the next one will take somewhat longer. Kilayim, which is allegedly the hardest Masechta in the Yerushalmi, has 44 blot. This one, Demai, only has 34. The last case in Masechta Demai talks about a case where you had 2 containers, both of which had meiser in them. And now one of the containers had meiser which was tahar, and one of the containers had meiser which is tummy. And the halacha is meiser which is tummy you're allowed to eat, because meiser has a status of chulin, just that it belongs to a levi. However, trumas meiser, which is a tenth of the meiser, cannot be eaten when it's tummy because it has the din of truma, and truma tmeya is also bachila. So therefore, you have 2 containers of which in front of you, both of which are meiser, one of which is meiser tom, one of which is meiser tome. You don't know which is which. So you want to make sure that you take the trumas meiser from the Torah one and not from the tummy one on both of them. So how do you do? You make it t'nai. You say you take the amount which will constitute the trumas meiser for both of them from each one of them. And you say if this one on the right is the Torah one, so let the trumas meiser I took from here be the trumas meiser on both, right? If not, let it be just plain meiser. And I say on the other one as well. And if this is the Torah one, so then let this be the Trumas Meiser on both, and let the other one, let what I took the other ladle just remain plain Meiser. And therefore, whichever one, now I have 2 ladles in front of me, one of which has Trumas Meiser, and one that just has plain Meiser Tomei. Now, that's so far so good. There's Machlokas Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, and Rebbe. I want to drink now both ladles. So how do I drink them? So Rebbe says, I drink one ladle, but then if that ladle might have been Trumas Meiser Tar, or it might have been Chulin Tmeim, Meiser Tamei, which is like Chulin Tmeim. And there's a din d'Rabbanan that Chulin Tmeim, when I drink Chulin Tmeim, makes me Tamei. If I touch it, it doesn't make me Tamei, by the way, only if I drink it. I love special din d'Rabbanan. So now Rebbe says I drink the Chulin Tmeim, and then I have to go to the mikveh, and then I can drink I drink one ladle, which is either Trumas Meiser Tar or Chulin Tmeim. Then I go to the mikveh because maybe it's Chulin Tmeim, and then I drink the other ladle. Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon says no. Elazar ben Shimon says I don't have to go to the mikveh between either of them. Why? Between both of them. Why? Because I only go to the mikveh at the end. Why? Because he says that which Chulin Tmeim is v'tamayu is it in the Rabbanan. And there's a halacha in the Rabbanan. This is in fact appears in Yoreh De'ah, Siman Kuf Yud Aleph. It's a tolling. Whenever this is the Rabbanan, I can assume that this is the Rabbanan applies to the place where it causes me less difficulties. And where does it cause me less difficulty here? If it's the second ladle and not the first ladle. So therefore I'd say that it applies to the second ladle and not the first ladle. So therefore I say the first ladle is Trumas Meiser Tar, right? It's the second ladle which is Chulin Tmeim, so I only have to go to the mikveh at the end. I don't have to go to the mikveh between ladles. Okay, that's again because because midaraisa I can drink Chulin Tmeim and then eat truma. So in Chumah D'Rabbanan, so it's the Chumah D'Rabbanan. So Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon says I'm lenient here. I say that the Chulin Tmeim came subsequent to the Trumas Meiser. So I think I'm going to try to say that maybe that there's another factor here. Maybe Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon says. Maybe Rebbe holds it's so about Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon says you're drinking less than Revius at once. And the halacha is that it's only mitami the mashkin maybe drink Revius b'chtei chilas pras. And Rebbe holds we're afraid that you might drink more than Revius at once. That's what Rebbe makes it go to the mikveh in between, because Rebbe's afraid you're going to, what's the word? You're going to what? Imbibe. Whatever. You're going to swallow it in one fell swoop. Swallow quickly. So it says the Gemara Takeh. That's a good chashash. Rebbe Shimon should be afraid of that as well. So it says the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Boon. Since if the Revius issue was one which are taken into account, the Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon should also be afraid they're going to drink it down quickly. You're going to guzzle it, right? Therefore, you have to say that the machlokas has nothing to do with the Revius, but rather with the first way we explained it. The Rebbe chashash shema shasa mashkin tmeim b'tchila. Rebbe is afraid maybe you drank the mashkin tmeim first. But Rabbi Shimon chash. Rabbi Shimon says no, since it's a Rabbanan, you only assume shema shasa mashkin tmeim baso that you drank the mashkin tmeim at the end and not at the beginning. Hajlam Sechas Demai V'Achochlon Daitalam Sechas Demai V'Datachlon L'Snachim Noch Sechas Demai L'Snachim Noch L'Abadev L'Ambadasi Hajlam Sechas Demai V'Achochlon Daitalam Sechas Demai V'Datachlon L'Snachim Noch Sechas Demai L'Snachim Noch L'Abadev L'Ambadasi Hajlam Sechas Demai V'Achochlon Daitalam Sechas Demai V'Datachlon L'Snachim Noch Sechas Demai L'Snachim Noch L'Abadev L'Ambadasi Hirtzon V'Nechon Eloheinu V'Vasin Shetetor Schom V'Nosei B'Lam Seh Seimon L'Abba Chanina Bar Papa Rai Bar Papa Nachum Bar Papa Achoy Bar Papa B'Mari Bar Papa, Rav Bar Papa, Ragish Bar Papa, Sucher Bar Papa, Other Bar Papa, Dor Bar Papa. Harav no no hints to Resos Chafin Fifiosam Chabeso, Yakulon Nachl Tzatzain 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 Chabeso, Klona Ish Mechel Desor Sechel Ishma, Marvet Rechmenim Tzachel Yiki Lolami Libi Tavim Chukech Man Lo Evosh Lo No Ishkak Budecha, Roki Sani Bucha Torna Lamdeni Chukecha, Amen 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 Selvad. Wadim Nachl V'Nechon Eloheinu V'Vasin Shesantuchel Kenim Yoshe Beis Konos, V'Los Yoshe Beis HaMedrash. לא עושה את הקלקל ביושי קורוש, שון משקיעים והם משקיעים. משקיעים דיב יותר משקיעים דברים תלים. אמן והם אמן. לא מלכה מסוחר והם אמן מלכה מסוחר. אנו רוצים והם רוצים. אנו רוצים מחיים הבא והם רוצים ברשחש נאמר והתולים תרדים לרשחס. עד שתדום ירמיר וליח צמא ואני אבטבח. Yerushalmi Demai and Elena Kshem Shazatan Messiah Mesechus Demai. Can't I say no Laschil Mesechus Sfarim Achein Messiah Limo Lami Lishma Vlaskus Lukaim Skolve Samutasach Biava. Schools called Tanoi Vamorim Tamidei Chachamim Yamol Lonu Zarenu Shlo Tomash Hatorm Mipinu Biyu Zarenu Bezer Zarenu Ad Olam Tiskaim Bonu Bisalecha Tanchoscha Shachwa Tishmar Alecha Vakitzosa Hisisichecha. Kivir Viamecha Visifel Choshnos Chaim Harchamim Minum Ismael Shavchavod Anoy Zamoitet Anoy Vrech Samova Shalom. Yizkara Shmei Rabba Namadu Asid Yizkada Sol Chaya Messiah Lasaki Sol Chaya Ama Mivnei Katzad Yerushalayim Shachle Chala Begava Umerkar Puchana Nichra Min Hara Lasava Puchana Dishmai Lasrei Vemli Kuchabrichu Malchusei Bikarei V'chayichom V'mechan V'chayichom Beis Yisrael Baglav Yizmakar Livim Amen. Yesh me'abon bevarachti olam umei omaya yisbarach v'shtabach v'sbar v'soman v'slasei v'sador v'salev v'salo shmei t'kutsho b'richu le'elam mikol b'chasar v'shiosotush b'chasar v'nech v'asar tami om b'yomov imu amen ha'isov amnon v'atavidem v'kol tamidei samadem v'kol man doskim b'rais l'dibra aslotem v'di b'chol sar v'asar yen lo hon uchon shlom hara b'alchina v'chitza v'achmin chayna richin m'zenai v'chei v'kono amikram avuni v'shmayav imu amen yesh lo ma'amin shmai v'chayim Yesh Lama Ramin Shemai V'chaim Olin V'akoi Savi Mu'amei Oseh Shalom Yom Avi Yaseh Shalom Olin V'akoi Savi Mu'amei Shkoyach